Washington Governor Jay Inslee and Attorney General Bob Ferguson sent more than 250 letters to gun retailers across the state, urging them to follow the new voter-approved gun control law.
Starting to peek around the corner in terms of spring weather, but we're still watching for some freezing fog and snow in our forecast.
Plus, tonight, the Spokane City Council approved $30,000 to buy bus passes for the city's homeless. Why they say that's a good move and why one member was opposed. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Hanrahan. Whitney is off tonight. We start with the topic that has dominated the conversation for months now: homelessness in Spokane. It's a complex issue with no simple solution, but city leaders believe connecting those in need with services is a big step in the right direction. KREM 2's Casey Decker joins us now with more on the city's latest move. Casey.
Yeah, Mark, you know, every time I've reported on one of these stories, any aspect of the conversation surrounding homelessness, at some point or another in that conversation, it would always turn to transportation. The city can offer up all these resources, but if the people who need them can't get to them, what use are they? Well, today in a special meeting, the council took a new action aimed at addressing that problem.
Warming centers, legal help, food banks. They're only useful if they're accessible.
What we have heard over and over and over again is that challenge of individuals getting to warming shelters, getting to resources.
In a special meeting today, the Spokane City Council voted on a proposal aimed at tackling that challenge. An ordinance allocating $30,000 of city money to buying bus passes for the homeless.
We're really hopeful that this money will help those folks that need it the most get to where they need to be.
So how exactly does it work? Well, the city is basically buying a whole bunch of one-day passes from STA. They'll then give those passes to various shelters and resource centers to, in turn, give to the people who need them.
If a person who's at Goodwill, who's working with a client and needs to send them to the Envision Center, and they give them a pass, and that person can take that, and it's a ride, that's great.
The ordinance passed 6-1. The only nay, Councilman Mike Fagan. He had concerns that the proposal needed more vetting.
What it actually was an emergency budget ordinance that just had come together, for lack of a better term, at the last minute.
Fagan says there needed to be more discussion about those who are homeless with pets and whether those pets can be brought on the bus.
Definitely had a concern as to whether or not there was some proper coordination and communication with STA regarding other than service animals being allowed on the bus.
And similarly, those who need to bring a lot of stuff with them might have or pose challenges.
You know, one of the things that we've been hearing from the homeless community a lot is that homeless individuals have a lot of personal property that they are carrying around, etc. And, you know, once again, lack of coordination, communication with STA was definitely a concern there.
Stratton says there are certainly more details to be ironed out, but argues the important thing was getting the money allocated.
This is a really good place to start.
Now, regarding some of those details, one of the conversations that they've also had about this is maybe doing month-long passes or longer passes. There was some concern, though, that if you provide those passes, people might start just selling them and just trying to get the money from it. So right now, they're sticking with the one-day pass idea.
Okay, good to know. Keep us posted on this issue, Casey. Thank you. All right, in other news, taking a live look outside now, a week into March, and we are making small steps toward warmer weather, at least during daytime hours. However, there is snow in the forecast, but we likely won't see that much. Let's get straight to meteorologist Thomas Patrick with more on that and the potential for freezing fog. Thomas.
Yeah, Mark, it's weird to think that snow might be in this forecast, but it's not really our top weather headline for tomorrow, but I will detail it nonetheless. We'll take a statewide view of Doppler radar. Just a little bit of some snow shower activity moving through the Cascades. And you also see some light showers just starting to pepper the west coast of Oregon and Seattle. That moves into our area tomorrow, but it won't be much more than that. Instead, I'm keeping an eye for any freezing fog this evening. Not seeing any visibility issues at the moment. Just a small hit to visibility in Deer Park, but at 4, now make that 2 miles. It looks like it might be deteriorating, but once we get under a mile visibility, that's where we really start to see that fog develop in actuality. So for tonight, temperatures down into the 20s and teens. That means we'll have some freezing fog and some black ice because, let's face it, some of that snow that melted is also refreezing this evening. A cycle that'll continue for several more days. I'll let you know for how many more coming up in just a few minutes.
Sounds good, Thomas. Thank you. Spokane native Steve Gleason is making headlines today for an incident with an airline. He says Southwest airline employees were unwilling to accommodate his powered wheelchair. The former NFL player is battling ALS. Gleason took to Twitter about the incident, saying, quote, "Some of your ground crew acted rigidly as if I shouldn't fly." Gleason did give a shout out to one employee, Joseph Redhair, who he said was understanding of his needs. The airline's customer service agents responded to Gleason's tweet, saying they did not like hearing that any of their passengers experienced problems while flying. Now to the latest on the measles outbreak in Southwest Washington. There are currently 71 cases in Clark County, and as a result, 800 students have been ordered to stay away from classrooms for up to 3 weeks. More than a dozen Clark County schools had students sit out of class after the directive from health officials. Here's why. If one student in a school is diagnosed, all are considered exposed, and any student whose parents cannot prove their child was vaccinated is being told to stay away. The Department of Justice is calling it the largest ever crackdown on elder fraud scams. The DOJ charged more than 250 people for targeting people over 60 years old with scams. One of their would-be victims, a 95-year-old man who used to head both the CIA and the FBI.
I feel so sorry for older people who get this good news of the money they've won, and they are going to be terribly disappointed.
William Webster was told he'd won the Mega Millions lottery, but he needed to send $50,000 to pay the taxes on it. When Webster refused, the caller threatened his wife. That person was arrested. The DOJ says older customers are more likely to fall for online scams because many of them aren't tech savvy enough to recognize them. Governor Jay Inslee and State Attorney General Bob Ferguson are urging gun dealers in Washington to follow the state's new voter-approved gun control initiative. Both sent letters to 262 gun dealers who operate in counties where sheriffs have said they will not enforce Initiative 6039. The letter notes, as a condition of their federal licenses, gun dealers are required to comply with state and federal law. One part of the law is already impacting dealers. They can no longer sell semi-automatic rifles to people under the age of 21. Starting July 1st, gun dealers will have to perform enhanced background checks on all sales of semi-automatic rifles. They already do that same check for handguns. Governor Inslee said, quote, "Despite what some of these sheriffs would have people believe, no one has the ability to pick and choose which laws to follow. Our state's voters overwhelmingly approved stronger background checks and gun safety measures, and dealers will be required to comply with those laws." Gonzaga Prep alum and astronaut Anne McClain will make history as part of the first all-female spacewalk. Together with fellow astronaut Christina Cook, McClain will carry out the spacewalk outside the International Space Station later this month. They will upgrade batteries installed in the station last summer. McClain has been in space conducting research since December. NASA says the spacewalk is the second of 3 planned for the Expedition 59 crew. Also, McClain got exciting news yesterday when she received a phone call from Vice President Mike Pence.
Mr. Vice President, it's an honor to speak with you this evening and to everyone else gathered there. I can tell you that witnessing the Dragon docking up here on the International Space Station, I think for both of us, for our whole crew, was a real honor. We feel very privileged to have been a part of it.
The Vice President told McClain and another astronaut that it was inspiring to see SpaceX Crew Dragon launch. McClain said it was an honor and a privilege to be a part of the mission. R&B singer R. Kelly remains in jail tonight after he couldn't pay $161,000 in child support to his ex-wife. Tonight we'll show you what he had to say about that and what his current girlfriends have to say about their relationship with Kelly when we come back.